Spec Ops: The Line is a unique video gaming experience that disguises itself as the prototypical third-person shooter. At its surface, it was nothing more than another iteration of the Call of Duty or Gear of War type shooters that were prevalent during the era. The mechanics, the gameplay, the graphics, the sound, absolutely brought nothing new to the table whatsoever. But this game was a wolf in sheep's clothing, lulling you into a false sense of security and heroism. During the game's first half, it even played as a typical hero shooter, a typical Gears of War or Call of Duty. It wasn't until around the halfway point of the game where something flipped, and you quickly realized that this was not a game that you have played before. This was not a story that you have heard told in a video game. And it was this scene right here that was our first big clue that this game was different. This story was going to be different. This is the white phosphorus scene.
Fire! Stand by. Target in sight. Fire! Prepping mortar. Hover disabled.
He's right, Walker.
Okay. We're done.
It was at this point, while walking through the carnage, the mayhem, the destruction that we had just caused,
He's already dead.
that we first began to feel a strong sense of doubt about what our characters were doing, what our goal was, what our purpose was, and whether or not we were even the good guys.
You brought this on yourself.
We were helping.
What?
Are those civilians? Where'd they come from? There's no camp here.
Yeah, it is. That's why Gould stormed this place. He didn't want the gate.
He was trying to rescue his people. This is your fault, goddammit! Stop right there, Lugo. What it is, he wouldn't let us have a choice. He turned us into fucking killers. That's enough, Sergeant. No! No! I told you so!
We could spend hours pulling apart this game, exploring each and every individual layer of the story. But this has already been done countless times on countless channels. The storyline has been analyzed more than maybe any other in video game history. And the blueprint has long since been established. The general consensus is that Spec Ops is a reiteration of Joseph Conrad's 1899 novel, The Heart of Darkness. It has even been confirmed by the developers that they have drew inspiration from that book, as well as the movie Apocalypse Now. The similarities can be seen all throughout the game. From the path of destruction left in the wake of our main characters, to the name of the game's main villain, Captain John Conrad. It is easy to see that this game draws heavy inspiration from those works. There is literally no denying it. But to me, when I think of this game and its storyline, The Heart of Darkness, Apocalypse Now, just isn't enough. It doesn't fill in all the gaps. There's something missing to tie it all together. There is something else at play here. There is something else that has inspired this game. That something else has bothered me for quite some time, and I haven't been able to put my finger on it. I've watched dozens of deep dive analysis videos covering this game, and they all leave me with the same holes, the same questions, the same empty feeling. While the game's storyline certainly follows the same script as Heart of Darkness and Apocalypse Now, it begins to deviate dramatically near the game's conclusion. While the deviations don't necessarily change the game's themes or plot points, it does add another layer when analyzing the traumas of our main characters, and it brings our big picture into a much clearer focus. This is not just a game about a rogue soldier and his followers who act as his own personal army. This is not just a game about the psychological and physical traumas of war. Well, yes, these elements are certainly present, as well as deeper and more complex narratives on PTSD and its effects on our mental and emotional well-being overall. There is still something more this story is trying to tell us. There's something more that this game needs to say.
Reloading! Cover me!
A major factor guiding our characters is the mind's ability to compartmentalize and justify our actions as necessary, or the best option available to us, as benevolent even. An ability that is so strong, it can cause false recollections, or altered memories, or even complete repression of events. When looking at this specific theme, you can easily see another film's influence.
My eyes are open.
I hope you like it. What the hell is going on? Your eyes are opening for the first time. It hurts, doesn't it?
While Fight Club and Spec Ops tell vastly different stories from vastly different perspectives, they share a lot of similarities, especially concerning how our narrators cope with trauma,
One down!
and how that affects how events unfold in their mind's eye, in an attempt to shield their psyches from the harsh truths of their reality. In both Fight Club and Spec Ops, we have unfortunately been burdened with unreliable narrators, and we are seeing the stories through their perspectives. In Spec Ops, we are given these perspectives in two different forms. The first being the black fade screen, and the second being the white fade.
Failure. Death toll. Too many.
Chapter 1 of the game begins with a black fade to a cutscene of our soldiers walking through a desert on the way to some objective.
Captain Walker.
It's commonly accepted that black fade signified that the events being depicted really happened and took place exactly how shown on screen.
Roger that.
What this suggests to us is that the game as a whole
What's your status?
did indeed take place. It did indeed happen. But how it happened and what exactly took place is up for interpretation,
All right, remember,
and
this place has been
certainly
designated a no
up
man's
for
land,
debate.
which means we're not supposed
After
to
we
be
are
as
introduced
suspicious
as the
by
game's
folks, okay?
special guest,
Roger, Dodger.
we get a fade to white as we take control of the character for the very first time.
You better come see
The
this.
general consensus is that white fades are hallucinations.
That's putting it
They are events that did not take place. I
Body looks
reject this
fresh.
theory out of hand. Both
is.
black and
Even
white
worse, it's
fades
30
are
times.
events that did indeed happen.
Probably the same
Only
people
we come to
posted
find
us.
out that the
That doesn't
white
answer the
fades
question. Don't worry. I think we're about to find
are
out.
from the perspective of our unreliable narrator. This is shown during our first encounter with the rebel soldiers. After finding a freshly killed American, the rebels ask us if we are going to kill them too, suggesting we had a hand in the demise of the American soldier. It is my belief that we did indeed have a hand in his death and are probably directly responsible. I cannot prove this directly, but the game shows us time and time again that these white fades are events that took place, that did happen. But the truth of the events have been replaced with altered memories. We see a good example of this near the end of Fight Club, as the narrator began piecing together his shattered psyche and began recalling events for how they actually took place.
You got it.
No.
Do not fuck with us!
Say it. Because. Say it. Because we're the same person.
That's right.
We are the all sing me, all dance, and crack. Tyler, I don't understand this. Tyler's not here. Tyler went away. Tyler's gone. What? This is impossible.
No, they don't have the courage you have to just run with it. Naturally, you're still wrestling with it, so sometimes you're still you.
We should do this again sometime.
Other times, you imagine yourself watching me.
If this is your first night at Fight Club, you have to fight.
Little by little, you're just letting yourself become Tyler Durden.
You are not your job for how much money you have to make!
Which brings us to the end of Spec Ops, which is a point where the comparisons to Fight Club really begin to wrestle creative control away from the Heart of Darkness.
What do you think?
It's at this point that the similarities really begin to kick into overdrive. The end of Spec Ops and Fight Club are intertwined in a way that leads us to one conclusion. A broken mind, whether it be from trauma or mental illness, when perceiving our environment, can go to great lengths to shield us from the realities of the world around us, in a way that we cannot recognize or take responsibilities for our own wrongdoings or actions. In a way, it's a defense mechanism used to cope when the mind experiences an event that is indeed uncopable.
It seems that reports of my survival have been greatly exaggerated.
This isn't possible.
What's possible?
Oh, I assure you, it is. How? Not how.
Both unreliable narrators are similar in many
You were
ways.
never meant to come here.
Both have projected their troubles, their shortcomings, and wrongdoings on entities that do not exist.
Cavalry, we go home.
And they do so in much similar fashion as each other.
It's out of my control.
In these next two scenes, both narrators can be seen talking to themselves,
This isn't
while
my
imagining a
fault.
conversation with another
Takes a
person.
strong man to deny what's right in front of him. And if the truth is undeniable,
They don't have the courage you have to just run with it.
you create your own.
What the hell?
Both our narrators are given explanations as to why their minds are broken from these entities that do not exist
The truth, Walker.
and aren't even really
You're
there.
here because you wanted to feel like something you are not. A hero.
Looking for a way to change your life. You could not do this on your own. All the ways you wish you could be, that's me.
Hero.
Hugo!
You left me to die!
I'm here because you can't accept what you've done. It broke you.
Colonel? Colonel, please.
Even the dramatic conclusions of these stories
Conrad.
end in a way that we can't help but to compare with one another.
So you cast it on me. A dead man. Are you sure? Maybe it's in mine. One.
No. Everything. All this. It was your fault.
That's what you believe, then shoot me. Two.
I didn't mean to hurt anybody.
No one ever does, Walker. Three. Four.
My eyes are open.
Is this really what you want, Walker?
This video briefly touched on the many aspects of Spec Ops' storyline and how they relate with the Heart of Darkness and Fight Club. But like I said, it would take hours to explore each and every individual layer and complexity. While the game is inspired greatly by Heart of Darkness, there are definitely influences from Fight Club present as well. Each individual person can take something different from the game or analyze it from a much different perspective. To me, that's what makes this game and its story one of the best of all time. Thanks for watching.
Evacuation of Dubai ended in complete failure. Death toll